Okay, we're going to be starting turn 3. Game is Target Leningrad, Army Group North, June to August of 1941, published by Victory Point Games. This is an overview of the map at the beginning of turn 3. What am I trying to say here? The Russian forces have managed to set up a defensive line along the Dvina, and the German forces are moving up to the Dvina in an attempt to breach that line. Replacements for the Soviets: we had one that flipped this unit over here, and I think we brought in another unit. I believe it was this mech unit here we brought back in. So anyway, this is the beginning of turn 3, and I'm going to go ahead and resolve it, and we'll see what happens afterwards. Well, here we are at the end of turn 4. The Germans made some progress across the river. The Soviets have closed up against the German line in an attempt to hold them there as long as possible. We rebuilt. Soviets had a couple of build points, so they flipped a few units over that were outside the enemy zones of control at the time. And the Germans had one build point, so they flipped over the 8-4 that had been flipped in combat. The Germans got did they get they got a reinforcement. Not sure which one it was. Actually, I think it was a couple of 6-4, so it might be them there towards. That might be them there towards the bottom. I think this one and over here were the two that came on. Otherwise, Soviets had no combat, and I'd already shown you the German advance. So we're going to go on to turn 5. See what happens there. Okay, battle number 1 on turn 4, German turn 4. I flipped over an untried unit, mechanized corps, or I guess you could call it a rifle corps, and it turned out to be a 636 instead of a wimpy 426. So that changed my odds from 4-1 to 3-1, but I added the air before that, so that kicks it back up to 4-1. The units involved in the attack are the 2 German armor corps, 41 and 56. So what we have now is, well, no, wait a minute. Yeah, I didn't add anything else to that, did I? I might have to recalculate this, but it looks like 22. Oh, that's 22 divided by 6 is 3-1, so it shifts it back up to a 4-1. I was hoping for maybe a 5-1 with all that, but I guess we'll see what happens here. I'm going to roll the die, and we'll see what happens here. 4-1. Ew, not good. It is a die roll of a 1 at 4-1. Well, actually, it's a defender retreat, so they'll be able to retreat safely, and one of the attacking units will be able to advance into that hex. So I guess things worked out a little bit better than I thought they were going to work out too. And then the second attack will be down here with some of these units that are beneath the units that attacked. We'll attack with this, I think it's an 8 or a 6. 8. Attack with this 6, attack with this 8, and attack with this 8 against this hex. I have it factored at 28-6 or 4-1. I don't see any benefit for the defender because I have one attacking unit across the river already, which, well, two or more units across the river, so that negates the river line itself. So a die roll of 6, 4-1, is going to result in a defender eliminated. So that was a very big attack, very successful, very necessary. So 2 German attacks pretty much establish us across the, I've been calling, what river is that? I still think it's the Dvina, but I could be wrong with that one. Anyway, yeah, I think that's what it is. Anyway, that's it for the German turn 4, and we'll see what happens in the Russian turn 4. Okay, here we are at the end of game turn 5. We'll be beginning the start of game turn 6 next. This is the position of the two forces. The Germans have now made some progress across the western Divina and have started a breakout to the north and are going to continue pressuring the Russians in the center. The Russians have brought up reinforcements and are continuing to try to hold on to a defensive line. This being the beginning of turn 6, there's only basically 2 more full game turns to go, and the Germans still have to capture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more objectives, 9 I guess, and I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to do that, but we'll see. Apparently I'm a better defensive player than an offensive player, so kind of play this out and see how it goes. Try to come back at the beginning of turn 7 and see how much, if any, progress the German players made. This is position of the units of both sides at the end of turn 6. The Germans have made a substantial breakthrough to the northwest. They have Parnu. They've advanced to the outskirts of Parnu with their panzers, and they have also advancing with panzer and infantry units towards Tartu. However, there's a guards unit and a mechanized motor rifle unit in their way, so they'll have to slog their way through there. There's some more infantry units trying to create and exploit a gap near the mechanized units in the woods south of Tartu. However, with only really 2 turns to go, I don't see how the Germans are going to achieve their victory conditions by capturing all of the city victory point hexes. So I'm going to go ahead and play out the last 2 turns, but I think it's pretty much going to be a Russian victory. So, but just kind of, like I said, just playing around, trying out the system, kind of enjoy it right now. There's lots of decisions to be made. I need to learn how to attack better. I realize that even with the air power, you have to make some pretty well thought out attacks to achieve some breakthroughs and stuff, which obviously I'm not doing very well at. So anyway, I'll be back in a little bit with the finish of the game. Okay, here we are at the beginning of turn 8. The Germans have made some more progress. They took Parnu. Now they're up at Leningrad. Going to try and take that on the final turn. And they may do some attacking near Tartu, but regardless, the Russians are going to win this one. The Russians are still throwing up a line in front of the German advance, slowing it tremendously. So we're going to go ahead and play this last turn out, and looks like it's going to be pretty much a wash for the Germans, but there are some handicaps you can use. I think it reduces the number of cities that the German player has to take, and I'm not sure what the handicap for the Soviet player is, but obviously I have done something horribly wrong as the Germans, and if I were to play this again, I would definitely have to think out some different strategies for them. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and play out this final turn, and I'll be back. Okay, this is the last turn of the game, game turn 8, which is August 17th, 1941. I'm going to go ahead and resolve the German attacks live. Like I said, it's not going to matter, but I just want to kind of see, how it works out. Okay, so the number 1 marker up there is going to involve the 41 German 41 Armored Corps and the German 38 Infantry Corps. If I factored it all in right, including the city and the 2-point air unit, I should come up with 5-to-1 odds. Let's see, I started out at 4-to-1, shifted 1 to the city for 3-to-1, and then plus 2 for 5-to-1. So if that's correct, I'm going to go ahead and roll at 5-to-1, which will gain us the hex. With a 4 at 5-to-1, we have a defender eliminated. And Lenin will fall. Or Talon, whatever, however you pronounce it. Okay. And let's see. I guess I could eliminate him now while I'm at it. And we'll go ahead and advance the 6 in to take control of it, I guess. I think that's what I was trying to do all along. Okay, the second attack is going to be these 2 German infantry corps versus this 1 Russian rifle corps. So I have it factored at 3-to-1, including the forest, taking that into account. So otherwise it would have been what? 4-to-1, 12-3, yeah. So we're at 3-to-1, and we roll a 1 for combat number 2, which is not going to be very good, even at 3-to-1. So 3-to-1 is going to be a defender retreat. He does have a retreat path. He can go up to here and then here. And that means one of these successful attacker units can go ahead and occupy that hex. Okay. I don't know if you got to see anything there at all. My camera moved. Yeah, well, I apologize. Let's move over here. Attack number 3. What do I have it as? 18, so it's going to be the 2nd German Infantry Corps and the 56th Armored Corps versus the units here, the Russian unit here in Tartu, which initial combat factor is 3-to-1, then we shift 1 for the city and then 1 for the air. They cancel each other out, and we have a final odds total of 3-to-1. So go ahead and roll that one. Well, roll a 5. That shouldn't be too bad. Let's see. I go over farther than I thought. Where's my table at? There it is. But I rolled 5 at 3-to-1. That is an exchange. Since this is the last German turn, I'm not going to worry too much about exchanges and such. So, what did we do? We attacked this 4 here. He loses 4. And now the German player must lose at least as many by flipping his units. So, I think if I flip this unit over to a 4, we gain the exchange. And then we'll move the armor unit into Tartu. Oops. Can you get all this on? Yeah, okay, I'm getting some of this. Alright. And I guess I'll just go ahead and, well, I don't have any more green markers out, so we know it's captured. For the final shot, I might have it green marker by then. Alright, we have combat 4. That is going to involve, what do I got that factored at? 2-to-1. It's not going to be great. That's going to be these 2 8s. Didn't include them with the other one, did I? No, because that's 8 and 8. That was 16. 8 and 8, that was 16 plus blah, blah, blah. How did I get 18 out of that? I had a 10 and an 8. That's how I got it. Okay, moving on to combat number 4. Sorry. We have what looks like an 8. How did I factor 4? I had 16, so it must have been these 2 units here attacking the 8 unit there, the 52nd Rifle Army. So it looks like we got just a straight up 2-to-1 here. There'll probably be a exchange here, I'm sure, or worse. A roll of 1 at 2-to-1. That's going to give us a defender retreat. 1 at 2-to-1 is going to give us a defender retreat. So get back up here to where that wonderful battle is being resolved. So, yeah. Defender retreat. He's going to have to retreat here. And then we'll just take him back over here. It's 2 hexes away, and we will go ahead and advance this. The 1st German Rifle Corps into that vacated hex. And then I have one more attack, number 5 down here. Since this is the last turn, I'm just going to go all out with the Germans as much as possible. It's a little bit late for all that, but that's the way it works. I have this one factored at, what is it? Yeah, more than I thought. 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 to 4. That's going to give me, what, 3-to-1 odds, and I have nothing else to support it with. So it's just a straight attack at 3-to-1 odds. Roll a 2 at 3-to-1 odds. What does that give me? Defender retreat. And this unit has a clear path of retreat. So he'll come back 1. Well, I guess I should show you what's going on. That was, there was attack here. Sorry. 2-to-1, roll a 2. That's a defender retreat. So we'll pull him back here because he can avoid the ZOC there. And I guess we'll just push him back there. And we'll advance one of the attacking units. Yeah, I think that's right. If it's not, oh well. That is the final hurrah for the Germans. They will get to do a special movement phase where they can advance any armor units up to half and any infantry units that are not in contact with enemy units up to half. So, not quite sure what I'm going to do with that right at the moment. Basically going to try to cut off Soviet reinforcement points or replacement points. But anyway, I'll come back at the end of the game and give a little bit of a comment real quick. Okay, here we are at the end of the game. Since the Germans did not capture all of the victory point cities, they have technically lost the game. They took a few casualties in the last turn, but that was necessary to make any progress at all. The Russians continued to stiffen their line, defensive line, and prevented the Germans from advancing any further. I could have used a Leningrad fleet up at the Battle of Tallinn, but I chose not to. I would probably save it for the Battle of Narva. But either way, I didn't use it. The way to handicap the German player for the Soviets is to only allow replacement points to augment the armor units on every odd number turn. So, yeah, I don't think that'd be much for the Soviet player. The German player with a handicap of only having to capture, like, I don't know, 13 cities or something, would be a little bit better, especially for my style of play. As it was, let's see, 6, 7, 8. Looks like they captured 8 or so of the 14 cities. I think it is. So just a little bit over half of what they needed, but still half too many. So anyway, I like the game. I'm going to try and play some of the others in the same system, such as the Army Group South and Army Group Center ones. I understand Frank Chadwick is coming out with a much larger game based on this system and stuff, covering the entire Eastern Front from Barbarossa to I'm not sure how far it goes. Anyway, I would give this a thumbs up. I like it. pretty nice, quick playing game. You got to double check the rules a little bit once in a while to make sure that you're catching all the minor points, which in the long run turn out to be major points. So anyway, I'll quit rambling and just say, if you get a chance to pick this up or any of the other games in this series from Victor Point Games, I would recommend you do so if you just like a light, quick war game. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, and we'll see you. Okay, as I was picking up the game, I went ahead to see what was under, what the untried unit was at, I don't know, Dagov pills, whatever. And at any one time, I had at least 1 to 2 6-point units adjacent to it, and most of the time I had at least 1 6-4 unit. But anyway, when I flipped it over, I found out that it was the weakest untried unit the Soviets have, a 216. So about any time I could have probably got about a 5 to 1 or so on it, depending upon what forces were nearby, and could have probably easily captured that one. But that's the fun part about hidden units, hidden factors and stuff. You don't know what's there until you engage it. One thing you could do, I suppose, there's not that many mech units. I guess you could take a look at all of them and kind of judge how many are, how many are strong, and the weak ones, the strong ones, and then the medium grade ones. So anyway, I probably cost me 1 victory point city. So something I have to look out for next time.